Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Victoria Nalule, and here with me is Mr. Takele from Ethiopia. So we're continuing with our series of webinars, opinion videos, where different people or different experts from different African countries are giving their opinion with respect to the development of the energy sector on the African continent. But before we begin, I would like Mr. Takele to briefly introduce himself. Takele,
okay. Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. First of all, I would like to appreciate for organizing this kind of webinar events. Just to introduce myself, my name is Takele Workeye from Ethiopia. My academic background is more of on petroleum engineering and geoscience. I have been working on this oil and gas exploration and development activities. I've been working on it. Also, I got a chance to work on also some geothermal operation activities. Currently, I'm working at Addis Ababa University as lecturer and researcher. And also I've been working also with different companies as a consultant on the energy sectors. And my interest area is more of on energy, environment, energy transition, as well as also governance, because I got also a chance to involve on the oil and gas policy and law making efforts on the Ethiopian oil and gas and mineral ministers. This is in brief who I am. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the introduction. So just to begin with, I would like to briefly read out your opinion with respect to the African energy sector. So you say Africa needs to integrate, transform, sustain its energy sector to ensure sustainable socioeconomic development of its citizens. This should be addressed via inclusive and ownership strategy with African resources sustainably operated and utilized by Africans while maintaining natural equilibrium. So I noticed that, I'll not read out everything, but I noticed that from your opinion, you're focusing more on the need for good strategies to ensure that African countries benefit from their resources. And you're also focusing on the issue of region and socioeconomic integration and cooperation to ensure that countries are able to solve the common energy challenges they face on the continent. Could you please expound more on your opinion with respect to the African energy sector? Hello? Hello, Takele, are you able to?
Yes, yeah, I'm here. Okay, let me elaborate on the pointers. Yeah, what I mean here for the integration is like the energy sector has to be integrated with other economic sectors, like the agriculture sectors, the information technology sectors, the environmental protection, and different economic sector has to be integrated while we are transforming or making transition from fossil fuel to non-renewable renewable energy resources. So while we are integrating and making transition, we need to also sustain the energy sector. Here, what I mean on the sustainability is, for example, while we are making a transition, we need to keep on without interruption the energy supply. You know, from the non-renewable to renewable, we need to keep on without interrupting the energy supply, as well as we need to sustain the environment, the biodiversity, and the nature has to be maintained and sustained so as to ensure the sustainable socio-economic development. While we are, you know, energy sector is related to and support the other sectors, the transport sector, the agriculture sector, and different sector, economic sectors are rely on energy sector. So this has to be aligned and aligned with integration, transform, as well as with sustainable approach while making economic structure, changes the economic structures. For example, if it is like fossil fuel dependent economic structure, has to be smoothly changed to renewable energy sector economic foundations or support has to be aligned. This is regarding the sustainable socio-economic development while integrating, transforming, and sustaining. So to address this, there should be regional socio-economic integrations, like, for example, the ECOWAS, IGAD, and other South African regional economic, socio-economic enterprise or socio-economic efforts and organization has to be integrated in order to have a common goal for Africans and for African citizens. In this regard, there should be also, as we are in the ICT era, we need to apply all ICT and innovation technology has to support the energy utilizations. The energy utilization has to be supported with innovative ICT technologies. In this regard, we need to utilize potential labor force of the continent. As we know, a lot of labor force is available, so we need to utilize and implement for the energy sector. And this needs to be supported and implemented with committed policy, committed leadership, and institutions has to be there. There should be a commitment. And finally, regarding the financial source, it should be the for real. Most of the supports are coming from economic agencies or economic aids from outside of Africa. So this shouldn't be make African dependent on the funds and shouldn't violate the sovereignty of the continent and also the countries. So the efforts that we are applying for the energy sector has to be free from dependency. This is some of the points. Are you with me, right?
Yes, Takele, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Oh,
I'm just
right.
trying to make sure that the network is good.
All right. Okay. So the next point that I raised is on the energy transition point of view, which is my opinion is the energy sector should be strategically integrated with other sectors. Here, integrate in the sense, for example, the fossil fuel sector has to be integrated with the renewable energy sectors. And also the sector as a whole, as the energy sector also, as I mentioned earlier, has to integrate it systematically with institution, with policy, with other efforts has to be strategically coordinated with other energy resources like nuclear energy, hydropower, and wind, solar energy has to be also integrated with fossil fuels. Because fossil fuel, we are searching fossil fuel not only for their energy resource, also we need them for other byproducts. You know, from petroleum, we can get other products like plastic industry, agricultural industry, fertilizers, and synthetic products. Even construction materials can be generated from petroleum. So still, we are not only passing only for energy point of view from fossil energy, fossil fuels. And this energy transition effort and endeavor should optimize all the available infrastructure development. For example, in East Africa, as you know, recently for the last 2 or 1 decade, there are a lot of oil and gas discoveries. In the meantime, there are also a lot of geothermal activities and also hydropower activities. When it comes to Ethiopia, there are a lot of hydropower activities are underway. For example, the GERD project would be as one of the examples. And if we go, for example, in Kenya, a lot of geothermal activities going on. Also, fossil fuel energy, oil and gas developments are also underway. So the infrastructure development has to be aligned for both fossil fuel and renewable energy resources. So this is the other point. And the next is to achieve those mentioned activities from technical and non-technical issues point of view. There are some strategies that I tried to point out. For example, we need to integrate with international, those energy, with those efforts related to the energy sector has to be integrated with international and national development plans. International, like for example, the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, the 2063 vision of Africa. Those energy sector activities has to be aligned with those international development plans, as well as also national development plans. For example, here I tried to mention, for example, recently Ethiopia is planning a 10 years development plan, which is an integrated development plan, which is underway in this week. There is a lot of discussion about this, which takes into account energy as one of the key sector, with other sectors like the tourism sector, the agriculture sector, the transport sector, the logistics sector, and other things like that. Energy took one of the priority areas. So while doing this sustainable socio-economic development with respect to the energy sector, it should be with inclusive and ownership strategy. Ownership here, for example, the fund and the finance put by Africans for the African projects, and also for the job opportunities. For example, sometimes, for example, we can take most of some projects supported by Chinese government or Chinese aid. The project financed by the Chinese, okay, then also the job opportunities also taken by them. Here, what I am going to make emphasize is the African resource has to be sustainably operated and utilized by Africans to feel ownership, as well as to dedicatedly work on the sector. And this needs to be while maintaining the natural equilibrium. It means that we need to protect the environment, the biodiversity, the ecosystem, while making the effort for the energy sectors. I think, Doctor, I have these points, and I would like to thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. And I would like to just ask a few follow-up questions, because you have raised very important issues, especially with respect to the need for infrastructure development in the energy sector. So in most African countries, like you mentioned, we have the resources, but due to lack of investments, we're seeing most countries lack refineries, maybe oil refineries, even at the regional level, because I noticed you mentioned the need for countries to even cooperate and benefit from the regional resources. But all that need well-established infrastructure developments. So in your view, what do you think African countries should do to attract the necessary investments to develop and establish the energy infrastructure needed to benefit from the resources?
All right. First, to attract this kind of investments, as I mentioned there, for example, the regional integration has to be there. Regional integration means economic integration, peacekeeping integration, national stabilities, and a well-developed policies and strategies has to be there. For example, last time I was participating on the petroleum policy of Ethiopia. One of the vision directed by the government was to have a regional cooperation to utilize, to develop different kinds of infrastructure like pipeline construction, refinery construction. For example, even if, for example, in Ethiopia, if I take, for example, Ethiopia, the national development, the national economic development has a policy, or the government make emphasize, first we need to keep national peace, stability to attract investments. And this needs to be by developing ease of business making to attract well-established institutions, to attract different investors, regional investors, international investors, clear policy, clear competitive policies, clear and competitive institutions to regulate those businesses. This is, for example, which are mentioned in the policy making of the petroleum policy of Ethiopia. For example, even if the country may not have a potential oil and gas in the country, For example, the refinery could be developed in Ethiopia. And if Kenya or Uganda has the potential, we can import the crude oil and make a refinery project here. You see, this is one of a good example which I was involved in the policy making. So in this regard, we need to have a transparent, competitive policy institutions to attract and retain different investments so as to create a job opportunity. If we create a job opportunity, there will be a peaceful citizens, and there will be a sustainable social and economic by incorporating and making sure inclusive of the national and community engagement, so that people will feel ownership, so that we'll be away from the resource curse.
All right. Yeah, thank you very much. You've raised very important issues, which I think most African countries should really take into consideration and also implement, because we do have great ideas like your ideas, but the issue is with implementation. We have to ensure that they implement to ensure that the resources benefit the local people in the different African countries. So this will be the end of our webinar. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Takele. And I would just like you to say a few concluding remarks, just like 1 minute.
Okay, thank you very much. Really appreciate. And I would like also to give your effort, especially Dr. Victoria. I would like to appreciate to create this kind of webinar, and also I have been following the previous webinars, which is good and inclusive, and giving a chance everyone to give a feedback and to learn as well. Also, my additional feedback is, if, for example, if it is extended, for example, to the institutions, for example, to the universities or the concerned agencies of the country, so that the discussions and points which are raised in this kind of webinar could be taken into account to the government, as well as different agencies, for example, African Union and other agencies, which could take into account those crucial and important points which have been raised by this webinar events, which could be incorporated to the countries and the institutions, so that those points or opinions which are raised by different professionals, by different professors, will be taken into account and be implemented in the country's effort on the energy sector.
Thank you very much, Takele. I do totally agree with you. We need to reach out to different universities and different institutions, but we are also counting on your network. If you know of an institution or a university that would be interested in such events or in the work we're doing, then we're happy to share with them all the videos from different experts from different countries, so that people can be informed and also for them to be really involved. Because we have many intelligent people, but they just need to be heard. So this marks the end of our webinar. Thank you very much for your time. And it's live on YouTube. I've already, are you on LinkedIn?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I searched for you. I wanted to tag you, but I couldn't find you. But I've already advertised it there. And I think you've sent the YouTube link. Let me just send you the link right now.
All right.
If you want to share with your contacts. I've sent it on the chat. So you can go ahead and share with all your contacts. And I've also shared with my contacts. And we shall keep advertising the webinar so that people can get to learn from you and your brilliant ideas. So this is the end of our webinar. Thank you very much for your time, Takele.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye-bye. All right.